jungle boogie, jungle boogie, with the get down, jungle boogie, jungle boogie, shake it around. Get down.
Good. Lunch, delightful. What'd you have for lunch, Jenny? Salad. Your body is a temple. You're at the health table. You've got nuts, an organic seed. I love it. Kim ordered mine. Oh, I like your table more. Haig's chocolates. That's going to work for about 30 minutes. And then we'll crash. We'll crash in a heap. Okay, so this session is what do you need? And what we're going to run for just a little bit is sort of an open mic. The intention is to be of service to whoever might be on this stool. But what we know if you're on the stool is that you can't hear anything because you're on the stool. Does that make sense? Imagine if you're on this stool and we're talking about you, but they're all watching. Yeah, so it's very fishbowl-y, right? So you're going to want to record probably. Sometimes if we think it might be valuable, we might be drawing. And I guess what I think in each one of these potential conversations for the next bit, you get a learning that's applicable to you. And I actually find, and I'm sure Adam could tell me why this is the case, I actually think when you're observing someone else, maybe there must be some learning methodology at play that's enabling you to get a deeper learning than if it was you up here. Does that make sense? I don't know why, but there's got to be something in that. The other thing is, because I'm going to ask for volunteers in a minute. So typically what happens is, not typically, but if we have a conversation, it is my goal to go deep. And sometimes you can cry. And if you do, it's cool. You need to be okay that you're crying in front of everybody. And everybody needs to be okay that you're crying. And I don't have tissues, and I'm not saying you're going to cry, but people have. And I'll just wait you out. So you'll work through that emotion, and then we'll see what's really going on. So what we're hoping to do is a few people are going to have a moment to sort of talk. I'm going to ask you in the room to be patient because this process has its own timeline. And what I know is that the quieter I can be with this person while they're going through it, the better. And my tendency is to be noisy. So sometimes this can just take a little while for people. So I guess if knowing there's like a mentor or faculty at each table almost, or someone who's been here for a while, what I'd like is the faculty says, from our table we volunteer so-and-so. And we won't get through everybody and it won't be every table. But faculty, you know what I'm looking for from you, as in dob someone in. And so I'm going to give you a moment and a little bit of sort of be calm music and do that. Maybe.
Feel the funk, y'all. Let it flow.
All right. All right. All right, all right, all right, all right. Faculty. Faculty, we've got some. Okay. I don't know how long it's going to take, and we're going to use the open spaces methodology, which is whatever happens is all that good, and however long, when it finishes, it finishes. So don't go, I only got a minute and a half. Well, you got, sorry, I think I'm doing Lisa now, aren't I? Sorry, Lisa, that's one of your characters, not one of mine. Okay, good. So it looks to me like Chris has picked someone, Linda's picked someone, Janine has picked someone, and Kieran has picked someone. Stephen's picked something. Corinne's, this is not going to work. So Janine, you're in charge of everything. We all know that. So are we going with yours first? But what I think you should say is, could you please pick which member of faculty is going to choose their person? Okay, so who are we working with? Eilish. All right, come on up. Give Eilish a round of applause. All right, Eilish. I'm going to need another handheld microphone, which I've got because the team are amazing. And that is your microphone, Eilish, which is the Dot. How you doing?
I'm a little terrified right now, but that's all right.
Oh, really?
Well, not really.
You're not really, are you? That was a funny little story. It wasn't true.
I could begin to believe it, though.
Thing about microphones is they're
Is
awesome when we talk into them, yes. So the whole thing is what's going on for you, what do you need, where are you at? Now, we've had a conversation throughout immersion, so I'm a little bit like ahead, but the room isn't, but don't worry about them, it's just about you and I.
Okay, so my challenge is to sell. I know what I want to do. I know the transformation I want to create. And what I'm connecting is the spiritual, psycho-spiritual with branding. So people want spirituality, but they don't want to buy it. They need branding.
I'm looking for someone who knows who they are, but they're...
Lisa just gave me a great smile.
Oh,
Great. So my challenge is for two, as Kieran would say, to be in the supermarket aisle where they choose what I'm doing. So my background's in branding. I have 25 years of experience with branding with really big brands. And my thing is around, if you don't own who you are, then it doesn't matter how good you look on the outside. People can smell your fear. And you're not in congruence. And of course, that's the journey I want to bring people on. And I want people to be in that space of where they're truly in their body and their work, which is, most people get that. But trying to sell it is challenging for me.
When you've got a really commercial idea, like I help real estate agents list more properties and close them quicker. It's so easy to sell that because people go, oh great, the money, the conversation's comfortable. And yet, if you're selling anything like heart-led leadership or spiritual branding and all of these sort of things, it becomes incredibly difficult. And you end up in this schism and this split. And the problem with that split is you're trying to be someone you're not. And I believe that the main reason why this doesn't sell is people are trying to make a spiritual message commercial by saying it's not spiritual.
Yes.
Because that's what intuition, maybe not even the right word, that's what instinct says. It says, look, if I tell them it's about chakras, and I tell them it's about past lives, they're not going to buy. And if I tell them, your brand is a level 10 soul, but you're operating as a level 7, they're not going to buy it. Now, I don't know if that's the issue, but talking to other people in this space, what I have noticed is for the first decade of my advice, I was telling them to change who they are because it's not safe to be who you are. Don't tell them that you're psychic. tell them that you're intuitive, and the like. And what I've noticed is it doesn't really work. And the answer is in what you're doing. You know how you said you have to embody the brand. It's like you are the spirit of your brand. You are the body of your brand. The irony of that around what we call this and do this for you is possibly where the breakthrough is. And I guess if you said what I've read was one of Seth Godin's book around tribes. And he said, stop trying to be everything to everybody, as you know, Pete's thing about market narrowly. But he said that there's these Prussian folk dancers, and there are people who like doing Prussian folk dancing. He says there's not a lot of them, but in the world there is enough of them for you to build a tribe around Prussian folk dancing. And I think what we do is we say, for me to be successful in a commercial game, I need to appeal to as many people as possible. And I think to be successful in a commercial game, you have to appeal to the right person. And I recently had this experience. How many people does it take to buy a house?
1.
So if 1,000 people went through the open for inspection, versus one of the right people going through the open for inspection, it's more about that. But I think that level of abundant thinking is challenging when we're trying to take something to market, particularly if we're not getting evidence that people will buy this. Yeah?
Yes.
So to have the faith that there actually is enough people to give you money to do that weird thing you want to do is kind of where I'm getting to.
Yes, and I describe faith as having no fucking idea, and trust as you have a legacy of you know that this worked, so this will work again, whereas faith is a complete leap. We don't know there's a God.
Huh.
I don't believe in God, by the way.
You're amazing. Thanks, Lisa.
I'm an Aries.
Are they like bunty rammy horn things?
They're the leaders of the zodiac. So we're
Sorry,
the
so
we're
what?
the, we're
Just
the,
what
we're
animal
the,
are they?
We're the first ones.
No, of course you are. Of course you are. From the minute you walked into the room, I knew. Pretty woman quote. So, what I think I want to get to where I want to get to, but I'm not sure if we're together so far.
Okay.
So what I want to get to is a thing called a parts integration, which is essentially we operate in 2 parts, and we operate in there is the brand expert and there is the spirit expert. And I need to, based on your whole God defense just then, I need to just go, what does spirit mean? When you're talking about energy, brand, alignment, congruent, embody your spirit of your brand, because you said to me, what does that mean?
It's the essence of who you are.
Ah.
And it's inspired, so it's
an inspired essence of who you are.
Yeah, so it's coming from, connection with your soul. So for me, you know, the inspiration is in that stillness, and so you're.
So you have a definition of what the soul is and where the soul comes from.
Yeah, source.
Source. Okay, good. So God is ketchup.
The generator, the organizer, and the destroyer.
Okay, great. So there is a thing.
Yes,
there's an
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
great. I just wanted to check we're on the same page.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'm a brand expert. I have made successful, beautiful jewellery, I think was when we first met, was one of the things that you're running an entrepreneurial space in. You know, building beauty in the world and putting beauty out in the world, and a history of also this spiritual stuff. I really only have a question for you. Is it okay for you to be all of you in the marketplace?
That's what I've been really grappling with.
I think, yeah.
And my awareness is that I have visibility challenges. And so, which is, of course, what I'm helping other people with. So I'm realizing that I'm going through my own challenge.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So, classic coaching question, right? if you were coaching yourself through this, what would you say?
Just be all of yourself. That one of my core beliefs is that it is through integration that we differentiate, and it isn't, and everybody's trying to differentiate through competition.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I feel that your history is competing with your...
It's my family.
Excellent. Excellent. Bob? Bob! So it is really clear to me that the name of the cluster and all of these sorts of things and what's the price of the cluster, when you articulated what you wanted to do to me an hour ago, you know what you want to do. And and looking at your biography, your resume, you have the capabilities and the histories and the evidence of success.
Mm-hmm.
When we first met at a roadshow, I said, you don't need to come here.
It was a great line.
Oh.
But it was. It's amazing because it's, nobody needs to be here, and we all need to be here because it is around coming into ourselves.
So you dodged the question. So when you were coaching yourself, you slipped off into this little thing about it's all about integrations, and that's great. But the question was, if you were coaching you, knowing everything you know about this and the fact that it's all of you being okay, what would you give you as the next exercise?
Permission. Permission to step into all of who I was, to tell the entire story. And there's a story I think that's running in my head is that people
won't buy that.
People won't buy it, and they don't take it seriously. And yet I have clients who, they've transitioned.
Have and do.
Have and do, yeah.
Take it seriously and do buy it.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So what you just said, the word I heard was permission, that you're giving yourself permission. Does anyone in this room need to give you permission?
No.
What about Pete? He's kind of authority,
No.
Okay. What about Lisa? She's kind of weird.
Lisa's great.
Oh, she's good. As opposed to Pete. I'm just playing. So the thing about this permission thing is, are you waiting for someone here to say it's okay?
No.
Okay, cool. So knowing all of this now, what are you doing? Is there something you want to do? Like, what do you want to do for the next 90 days? Do you want to have this question? Like, how would you move beyond this question?
What stops me is I don't know if it's a fear of rejection, because I don't really deal with that, but there's something that stops me picking up that phone. And I've spent the last 6 to 9 months, really putting all of my work together. So I'm really clear in my thinking now, and I've seen results with clients of, complete transformation. They grow 2 inches. It's amazing. Up, not out. But, it works. And there's something that stops me picking up the phone that feels that I'm somehow pushing people to do something that they may not want, which I understand intellectually that it's an invitation. It's simply a call to, a coffee, or a call to, to be themselves.
One of the toughest things to get over is this saying no for other people.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really, and you can play mind games and you can try and rewire it. The way it worked for me was because my identity is that I'm not arrogant. So if we went back to Bob's session, I have this identity that whatever the opposite of arrogant is. And someone said to me, you deciding whether someone can buy this or not, Matt, is so arrogant. And it kind of disrupted me, because I went, no, I'm not arrogant. I'm not arrogant at all. I might be bold from time to time and direct, but I'm not arrogant. I don't think I'm better than anyone else. And they're going, well, yeah, you do, because you're making the decision. And then it came down to things like you're finishing sentences for other people. It came down to things like the way you think you're showing love to Lexi is by telling her where she's going to sit in the restaurant. because you're thinking that would be the best seat for Lexi to sit in the restaurant, so Lexi got what she wanted. Well, how about Lexi chooses the seat she wants to sit in, and maybe I got nothing to do with it, and maybe what I do is I just figure out where I'm going to sit. And so for me, when someone explained that my sales block was actually I was making assumptions for other people, and that was stealing their power, and that it was actually incredibly disempowering and arrogant, it came up against my identity so assertively that I almost couldn't keep doing it, and I had to change, because I went, no, my identity is the exact opposite of that. So it actually became, in my worldview, and Pete talks about this in his 9 keys to selling model, there's this reverence moment, and when you can get to the moment that this is a sacred moment, yeah, where two souls are choosing, Pete calls it a sliding doors moment, that when sales is that, you actually delight in that moment. You run towards that moment. You look for that moment. You don't avoid it, delay it, deny it, hide it, talk over it. And all of the sales techniques of ask for the business and shut up actually start to make sense, which is this is a sacred moment where someone's choosing to be. So I want to come back just a little bit, because I think there's a lot for you to think about in this and a lot of choices for you to make. And I think that one of the things that stops us is we go, there can't possibly be enough people to buy that. That if I were to call it psychic leadership, you know, that's not yours, that's somebody else's in the room, they couldn't buy it. It would repel. And what's interesting is you'll get all the people who are into it and ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, what we don't do in this country is we don't do the Christian-run business. In America, there is a squillionaire business for Christian, you know, leading through Christ. The Buddhist-centred business. There's no one doing that in Australia. We've got this weird thing we do. But the interesting thing is, if you became the yoga for kids in HSC, you know, Buddhist branding, you clean up. Now, would, you know, the white supremacists turn up? No? You good with that?
Yeah.
And it's like, how many people does it take to buy a house? One. You know, and I think that the abundance is to maybe have the belief that there is enough of, I have this universal belief in providence. There's enough of everything I would want if I can just plug into it. And I think sometimes what we do is our blahjang gets in the way, and the irony of your expertise feels to me that your blahjang's getting in the way just a little bit. And I don't think I don't know about, I was talking to an artist the other day and I said, do you do art for your audience? And they said, no, I do art for myself and I hope the audience likes it.
Yes, I think that might.
And you did jewellery, right?
Yes.
You didn't do jewellery for a target market. You didn't do jewellery with a, 24-year-old men will wear, tribal identity. Let's do a tribal range. That's how Pandora might market.
Yes.
But it's not how you made bespoke, beautiful jewellery. And so what you did is you said, this is art. You worked with what you had, and then people that were attracted to it bought it. And I'm thinking that's possibly how you need to sell. You need to make a beautiful cluster that appeals to it. But there's some people that won't wear dinosaur design because it's so big and chunky, right? And yet there is a market that loves it. Mm. And I think maybe from what I've heard today, that's where it is for you. It's around believing that you only need one person to buy and that's good enough. Why don't you just be what you know it is and declare it without apology and without obfuscation? Like, let's not hide it, let's not blur the edges. Maybe we call it what it is and just see how that goes for a quarter.
That would be so liberating.
You happy to try that for a quarter? All right, round of applause for Eilish. Thank you for playing. Nice.
Sorry, I know that was tough.
No, you weren't tough at all. All right. So what we'll do is before we roll to a next, you're going to have just a moment. I'd like you to do two things. Sure, you can talk to the person next to you, but what from that are you able to use to help you be more successful and get to black belt faster? Is there something in that you can use that can help you get to black belt faster? We'll play some music. Well done for intimacy, Eilish.
Why should you expect to see something that you hadn't seen in somebody you've known since you were 16? If love isn't bought from the blue, then what is it bought but a glorified screw? And that doesn't hold nothing together. Far from these nonsense bars, and then know when music it's making me sick. And I know it's making you sick. There's nothing there. It's like eating air. It's like drinking gin with nothing else in. And that doesn't hold me together. But for one, cried it out. You were the only one in the room. I sailed around all those bumps in the night till you begun in the gloom. I thought I'd found my chord in September in the middle of that purple June. But one crowded hour would lead to my wrecking ruin. I know you like your boys who take their medicine from the bowl of a silver spoon, who run away with the dish and scare the fish by the silver light of the moon, who are taught from the womb to believe to the tune that it's force bleeding. I say, is a pleasure pen meant for them, build and rent for them, not for the likes of me, then not for the likes of you and me. And for one, cried it out, you were the only one in the room. Lights sail around those bumps in the night till you'll be gone in the gloom. I thought I found my goal in September in the middle of that purple June. But one cried it out would lead to my wrecking ruin. Oh, but the green-eyed heart of the sunlight, she takes into hers my hands.
Okay, faculty. Faculty, who is the... wow. I've got Oscar, I've got Linda. I've only going to be able to do one. Oscar, I love that you stood up because you don't. Subsequently, Linda is choosing. All right, come on. This is what you want. Round of applause. Do you like to be called Marianne? Do you like to be called M.A.? Do you have any other nickname?
Ma'am.
So Marianne it is.
Honest.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You obviously are, right? Like you got a green
I'm working on
quarter and yellow. It's been a while.
I know.
541 days. Okay. What's going on? What's on your mind?
I came in a little bit disconnected, and after a conversation with Linda, came to an insight that I was disconnected with my stuff, and disconnected with the work that I've been feeling like it was just head work. There was no heart, and there was definitely no gut or identity in it. And so what I've been searching for is my place, my uniqueness within what I've been doing. So I'm being, not just doing.
Okay. So tell us what you're doing.
So my cluster for this quarter is connected leadership.
Yeah, that's cool. Tell us what you've been doing.
What I've been doing in the past, of course.
No, I just mean like we're making money, yellow to green. What are we selling? What are they buying?
Leveled up leadership.
Okay, cool. And they're buying it?
Yeah, they are.
But you're not connected to it?
No.
Okay. Cool. Do you sell it like coaching? Do you sell it like training?
I sell it a combination of training and coaching.
Yeah. Is this like emerging managers? Is that what it's been historically? So,
right.
I
Middle
get
leaders.
I get it. So you're in this emerging pipeline, teaching the managers to become leaders. It's really economically smart. Like it's,
Thank you.
It's such emerging leadership's like one of those easy to sells. You know, selling is easy to sell, and selling that thing, manager to leader, is one of the easiest sells in the game. Also one of the most commoditised.
Yes.
And you end up with either HR or learning and development making the approval, and subsequently the price points end up low.
Yeah, and I work in education in New Zealand a lot too,
Right. So
and there's some restrictions.
Yeah, three
around
strikes.
that
You're talking
financial.
HR.
Yeah.
They don't care about money. You're talking to New Zealand. They're
Yeah.
broke. And it's only a matter of time until we invade. Or
I get 'em
your
now?
Navy might stop us.
Do I get them now?
Anyway, sorry, I'm using Dan's jokes, Karen. You know I am, and I shouldn't be. And what did you think connected leadership's where it's at?
Because what I found is that there's not a deep enough connection from leaders to themselves and to the people that they lead. It's not deep enough. And I think for me, I want to go deeper. It's not just head stuff. Because what I'm finding is that in the market, it's like, change leadership and all this sort of, all that sort of stuff. But I'm actually about connections. I'm about deep connections on a personal level with people. I want to be able to pull that lens through how I do leadership.
Does this desire for deep connection lead you to longer contracts?
I'm not sure.
Look in your bank account. What did you sell? Did you sell long engagements or?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right. So is a lot of this made up of long engagements?
Yes.
With like one or two clients that you've gone really deeply with and worked through every regional office and right. Yeah.
I'm getting there on every regional office.
Yeah. What would it feel like? You know when people make jokes and they do like the one night stand versus the embedded marriage sort of thing? You know how people talk about their cluster here? Do you get a weird charge when someone says that in the room?
I think, I mean, I don't like it. For me, I call it a one-hit wonder. It doesn't sit there for me. It's not, it's too surface. It's too superficial. Yeah.
So you know how I make money, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, just checking. So this is an interesting thing. How much of the change process, because there's a theme going through this, by the way, how much of the change process do you feel you're responsible to bring to your client? Oh, let me ask you another question. Do you think they could get to like extraordinary leaders who are connected and care without you?
No. They need me.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it possible that they might read a book on it and then someone within the business just is so on fire that they actually champion it from inside out? And
Well, they could. Yeah.
is it possible that that might have happened somewhere on the planet somewhere?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Recently?
Possibly. Yes.
It is possible?
Yes.
No, do you believe that it's possible?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay, cool.
There's a little bit of
Yeah,
hesitation in there.
Yeah. What do you feel about greedy people? Like, if you meet a greedy person, you know, the person who, like, maybe even entitled, jumps to the front of the queue and takes the best food from a buffet, or... How do you feel about that?
Fuckwits.
Yeah.
Assholes. Dicks.
Yeah. I think we got it. Because at the heart of, bundled and unbundled revenue, everybody needs to experience bundled revenue to see whether they like it. And bundled revenue is when you chuck some coaching with some training, with some speaking at the conferences. You know what's, I wonder if this has ever happened to you. Have you ever, in a client that you cared and go deeply for the last year and a half with, heard that they've got a conference and booked some blow-in speaker to come on in? That speaker comes in and talks. And is there a little bit in you that goes, you should have booked me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why didn't they?
Because I'm...
always there.
How do you mean?
Well, you're always there. You're a coaching call away. You're a training session away. We've got a meeting next week with you.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah.
Don't we? So I reckon there's this huge benefit to uncoupling you from the result that your clients get. And that's incredibly hard to do, particularly if you really learn green sheets. Because if you really learn green sheets, it's no, I'm coupling me to the value.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this wonderful benefit, particularly for those who sell bigger programs for more money that take longer. Because the problem is your day rate's horrible.
I know.
Like your day rate's obnoxious.
Shit.
It is, isn't it? It's horrible. I mean, you can't even live off it.
No, not at all.
No. You might as well just give them the money. Your life would be better. And I personally think one of the level ups in our game is when we stop doing TFC and we start doing SAM-IM. So we stop doing trainer, facilitator, coach, and we start doing speaker, author, mentor. I like to tell people to brand and market this and then make money from this. So if I ever look at anybody's website and it says, I'm an awesome coach and I'm a brilliant facilitator and I'm a great trainer, I go, you're broke. I go, brilliant speaker, author, mentor who hasn't done a paid speech, hasn't finished a book, and coaches, I go, that's cool. Let's fake it till we make it, tell the truth in advance. That's the branding that's about your future.
Yeah.
And then have the integrity to live into that future. Right, the integrity is to then back that proclamation.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of the level up in this game. And you move from the transactional to the transformational. But one of the differences is these people think they're transforming, but they're tying the shoelaces, as Adam said, of the year 7 kid. They're cutting up the steak of the 14-year-old child because they don't trust them with a knife. And it's like, I think we're okay. Let's give them a knife at what age, Karen? Let's give them a knife. Darcy had knives at like 3, didn't she? Dangerous idea. But does anybody parent through smothering? We do. You're Greek, of course you do. So, and we parent through smothering, but we are taking the light from our kids, aren't we? Where we are thieves and we're stealing their identity and their possibility to shine as clients. In fact, it could be said that these long-term engagements are preventing your clients from leveling up. It could be said.
I got it.
It could be. I'm not saying it is, but there's...
I've got it, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What'd you get? What's going on?
I'm potentially stopping them from having agency in their own lives and leadership.
Wow.
By smothering them, by
Wow.
giving them too much of me.
Wow.
Too often.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Amazing. Agency, who knew? Might be a thing. What do you think, Simon? I think so. Okay, so I think that's all we've got time for, but let's once again transfer whatever experience you saw Marianne go through into what's useful for your practice and for you going faster. And we'll connect on that. Here's a little bit of music.
chance that I could have something to drink.
Walking around here looking for something.
I can get fucked up on absolutely anything.
I'll sweep you off your feet and you will fall apart.
Sweep you off the floor, God, you're drunk again.
Finding in the light that somebody else's heart.
Why don't you stay?
Looking at the stars, I have you to myself.
Looking at the stars, I have you to myself.
Standing here with you and thinking of someone else.
Standing here with you, thinking of someone else.
Blanket on my back, I'm cold again.
Trying to see your eyes, don't make me warm again.
Smile in the smoke, trying to find something to say. Why don't you stay?
Why don't you stay?
Grab your placemat out of your bag or your folder or wherever it's living. So we are going to do a bit of work finishing any gaps you have in your placemat. So if you are working on the cluster side of your placemat and want to get that done now, stay in this room. If you are working on the practice side of your placemat and want some help with that, follow Mr. Church out into the other room. So finishing the cluster side in here, working on the practice side out there. Give me this. Okay. Just had a funny thought. I realised, Cam, you've still got my hotel key and that I need to get that off you. And then I thought, I'll just ask him. And I thought, that sounds really wrong. Perhaps I shouldn't just ask for that. But, but I just did. I thought I would share that funny thought. Just when you remember, give me my hotel key back. Thank you. So, you have the top third already done. What we want to get done now and get some help with if you need it is our targets for the next 90 days. Critical piece of the plan for the next 90 days for each cluster How many approaches, meetings, sales and delivery are we going to do? 3 big goals. 90 days from now, when we come back in May, what's going to be done? This can be think, sell, deliver goals or something else. Our day rates if we haven't done those, and our next 3 clusters on the post-it notes if we haven't done those. If you have any questions about any of those bits, stick your hand up and someone will come and help. Thank you, and can we have some working music, Cam? And we'll get to it. 15, 12 minutes, and then rolling into a break.
I feel the 4 become 5, and I'm waiting for you to walk down the boulevard and to take me. But the moment you appear, you wake me out of the slumbers of my head, from the slums of loneliness. And there's no conspiracy behind the way to high speed. When life is a two-way street. And I think I'm ready to let you get under my skin. I can't make you fall for life is a two-way street. We're coming close to our fame. There's
Okay, we are officially going to a break. If you are working and want to keep working, then obviously keep working. But until 4 o'clock, we are formally on a break, so it's a chance to stand up, stretch, do what you need. Back at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Gibson 335 and a father's dream died that night just to keep that electricity on. And it's the darkest side of my heart that dies when you come to me. And it's the golden ticket I win when you kill my enemies. I hear the flowers crying, the softest sigh when I'm empty. But if you leave me, I'll hide in a game like SimCity. Oh, when I die, I'm alive, when I lose, I find my identity.
If I died on my bedroom floor, would you cry on your bedroom floor and tattoo my name underneath your arm? Ooh, love was alive in the olden days, been put to death in this golden age. I call it TV.
It's the darkest side of my heart that dies when you come to me. And it's the golden ticket I win when you kill my enemies. I hear the fathers crying, the softest sigh when I'm empty. But if you leave me, I'll get me gone, drown face down, muddy in the water. Oh, when I die, I'm alive. When I lose, I find my identity.
This darkness Friday, it was a holy shaking earthquake, and you were stuck up the tree.
And it's the darkest side of my heart that dies when you come to me. Oh, it's the golden ticket I win when you kill my enemies. I hear the fathers crying, the softest sigh when I'm empty. But if you leave me, I'll hello goodbye night and shine a night like I'm a dead man. Oh, when I die, when I die, when I die. When I die, I'm alive. When I lose, I find my identity.
Shook it up.
I never loved nobody fully. voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music, and it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. When it breaks my heart. Suppose I never ever met you. Suppose we never fell in love. Suppose I never ever let you kiss me so sweet and so soft. Suppose I never ever saw you. Suppose you never ever called. Suppose I kept on singing love songs just to break my own fall, just to break my fall, just to break my fall, just to break my fall, break my fall, break my fall. All my friends say that of course it's gonna get better, gonna get better, 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 better. I never loved nobody fully. Always one foot on the ground. And by protecting my heart truly, I got lost in the sounds I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music, and it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music, and it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. When it breaks my heart. When it breaks my heart. When it breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. When it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. When it breaks my heart.
I'm chasing visions lately, bent at some stiff-neck party. I'm feeding ducks in a pond. I don't know anyone here, seagulls or sharks, I don't care. I take a dive and I'm gone. Dancing in the car park, headlights on, trying to take off, but the gravity's too strong. Walking these streets all over the place, trying to crack up with a little bit of grace. I'm speeding up dreams. I gave my money to a late night store, and I left my shirt outside your door. And I walked all night, and I talked to you, and I never looked up, and I never got through. When I'm with the wind and the stars, I feel you next to me. I'm at my 16th dive bar, but these strangers look familiar. dancing in the car park, headlights on, trying to take off, but the gravity's too strong. I gave my money to a late night store, and I left my shirt outside your door, and I walked all night, and I talked to you, and I never looked up, and I never got through. And I move with the wind and the stars, I feel you next to me. The soft machinery of your heart, I feel you next to me. Oh, if I go alone, oh, if I go alone, oh, if I go alone. I move with the wind and the stars, I feel you next to me. The soft machinery of your heart, I feel you next to me. The soft machinery of your heart, I feel you next to me.
lucid and conscious, hovering like a firefly. My mind stretched out on the canopy. It put its arms out slow, and I heard the whispers of silence floating down from the radio. So come on, I'm ready now. I got the feeling, honey, like I'm ready to roll. You see, I'm not gonna wait till the end, 'cause I got the burning fire in the bed of my soul. Saw the light from a pedal gun, 16 days under a southern sun. And there were times when I thought that I wouldn't mind it if I lost my mind out there. You wouldn't believe me if I told you so. The things I saw were enough to make the man in me, man in me. Make the man in me. So come on, I'm ready now. Go get your things out, honey, let's get ready to roll. Oh, I can feel the wave coming over me. I've been waiting for this day too long just to let it all go. As a child, I was wonder-eyed with the thought that I might know a life in the ecstasy of rock and roll. I'm not taking it slow. I'm an arrow in a bow. You think that I don't know what it is that makes it glow. So come on, I'm ready now. I got the feeling, honey, like I'm ready to roll. You see, I'm not gonna wait till the end of me, 'cause I got the burning fire in the bed of my soul.
I was walking through icy streams that took my breath away, moving slowly through westward water over glacial plains, and I walked off you, and I walked off and owned me. Oh me, oh my, I thought it was a dream, so it seemed. And now breathe deep, I'm inhaling. You and others there in between. Leave me bleed, I'm exhaling. You and others there in between. Ooh, 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 ooh. You and others there in between. shake, shake, shake it. I shake it off, I shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break, 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 break. And the back is gonna bake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake it. I shake it off, I shake it off. I never miss a beat. I'm lightning on my feet, and that's what they don't see. That's what they don't see. I'm dancing on my own, dancing on my own. I'll make the moves up as I go, and that's what they don't know. That's what they don't know. But I keep cruising, can't stop, won't stop grooving. It's like I got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be alright. 'Cause the player's gonna play, 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 play. And the haters gonna hate, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it out, shake it out. Heartbreaker's gonna break, 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 break. And the baker's gonna bake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it out, shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out. I shake it out, I shake it out. I shake it out, I shake it out. I shake it out, I shake it out.
Hey, hey, hey! Just think, while you've been getting down and out about the liars and the dirty, dirty cheats of the world, you could have been getting down to this sick beat.
My ex-man brought his new girlfriend. She's like, oh my god, but I'm just gonna shake into the fella over there with the hella good hair. Won't you come on over, baby? We can shake, shake, shake. Yeah. 'Cause the player's gonna play, 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 play. And the haters gonna hate, 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 hate. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. I shake it out, I shake it out. Heartbreaker's gonna break, 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 break. And the haters gonna bake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. I shake it out, I shake it out. Shake it out, I shake it out. I shake it out, I shake it out. I shake it out, I shake it out. I shake it out, I shake it out. Shake it out, I shake it out.
Hello. Oh, can we do a little bit better than that? Hello. Thank you. That is much better. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Corrine. I'm the Dean of Faculty, which means that I get to help support faculty support you. And we're going to talk about collaterals this afternoon. And Georgia started with a love story. So I'm going to tell you my love story, but there's a little bit less guessing involved in my love story, because my love story is with collaterals. But I don't know about you, but I love my husband for different reasons now than I loved him when I first met him. You know, relationships change over time. So my first relationship with collaterals was really quite different to now. Who can guess, as a white belt that doesn't like or didn't like sales, why do you reckon I loved collaterals? It gave me confidence, yeah, and? Yes, Amy knows me well. I love collaterals because while I needed to build collaterals, I didn't have to make phone calls. And while I was creating white sheets, I didn't need to make LinkedIn connections because I can't make the LinkedIn connections until I've got the white paper to follow through. And then once I've got the white paper, I have to get the brochure. And then when I've got the brochure, I might need to ring them. Oh no, I can't ring them yet because I haven't done my contact 10 list. And I couldn't possibly ring person number 1 until person number 10 is documented. So am I the only one in the room? I'm seeing a few people going a bit squirmy. Yeah, so who loves collaterals for those reasons? Come on, be honest. Okay, excellent, good. That's a nice baseline. So now I love collaterals because, was it Matt, was it you said confidence? Yeah. Now I love my collaterals because they give me confidence. They give me professional standing. They mean that when I go out to a client, I've got something to give them, and even often I don't give it to them, but I know it's there. And even more than that, I've done the thinking to create the collaterals to know that they're there. My thing is fearless leadership. And I've always been just a little bit uncomfortable that I can never really define it well. I've got lots of good definitions, but I haven't got one good definition. So I've just been working on a new brochure that you'll see in a minute, a bit of collateral. And I was pushed by the copywriter that I worked with to do a really good contrast frame. And it was in doing that contrast frame that I came up with all of these distinctions that I've not had before. And so then when someone asked me the day before yesterday, well, so what's fearless leadership? I was on fire. And I didn't tell them everything. I just told them a couple of the things that were most relevant to them because I'd done more thinking. So what we're going to do this afternoon is go through the self-assessment, which are on your tables, on collaterals. We're going to talk about what some of those collaterals are, and then we're going to create some, and we're going to make a plan for the ones that you haven't done yet. So this is your opportunity. If you're right across collaterals, if you don't need to understand the distinctions between the core collaterals and the project collaterals, if you don't need to do any work on them, or you want to do work and you know what to do and you want to do it in silence, then go out now and do that in the foyer or outside. Or if there are important conversations that you want to have that aren't about collaterals, head out and have them. And if you want to stay in the room and refine your collaterals, then this is the place to be. So go now or forever hold your peace. So the question with collaterals, will it make the boat go faster? You've heard Matt say that often. This decision we're about to make, this thing that we're looking at, will this make the boat go faster? Not every mode, not every cluster will need all the collaterals. And then what type of a boat is it? Is it a big, expensive $300,000 12-month boat? Or it is a $3,500 show up and do something for 15 minutes, or a $5,000 coaching program? Depending on what the cluster is, you need different levels of collaterals. So to give you an example, and I'm a little bit squirmy about this, I dug through some archives last night, and this was my brochure for my first Fearless Leadership program. Now, as you can see, it is not a brochure. I had no brochure. This is a green sheet, and it's a pretty ordinary green sheet. There's some weasel words in there. It's not particularly good, but that was my first green sheet for this particular cluster. And that was all I had, and I sold from it. I did a white paper after a while, but this is where it started. So don't think, now you've all outed, so you can't do this anymore, even if you've done it up to now. Don't think you can't make phone calls, you can't sell stuff without a brochure. If you've got a green sheet, you're good to go. This was the next evolution. This is the front. There was a front and back. It was very cool. It was two-sided. I was so proud of it at the time. I paid what was Elance. I don't think Elance even exists anymore. It was sort of like 55 Designs or whatever it's called, where you pay someone a small amount and they create a template for you. And this was my brochure. And so that was about a year into this cluster. This was the next version. So this was probably about 2 years ago. So we're getting a little bit more refined. The language is getting a bit clearer. And I'm feeling a little bit more special. And I'm charging more. So the more you charge, the more you need to do. And this is one, I'm not entirely happy with it. It came back last night from the designer. It's the first 2 pages. It's a 10-page PDF. Cost me a lot more than my first green sheet, as you can imagine. It's had copyright, but this is now a $100,000 to $150,000 program. So this needs more than the first one. So does what you're trying to do make the boat go faster, and are you thinking about the right boat? So the effort that you need to put into any of these collaterals will relate to the cluster that you're doing. So keep that in mind as we answer any of these questions. So, the first question on the, has everyone got the self-assessment? I don't. Do you understand the distinction between the core collaterals, or the common collaterals as it's sometimes called in the curriculum, and the project collaterals. And just rate yourself on that scale of 1 to 5. Everyone done that? Can I just have a show of hands for 1 up to 5? Where's everyone at? Do you understand that distinction? All right, so I've got a few 1s and quite a few 4s, and what's that? Is that 25 or is that, I'm not sure. Not excellent, excellent. So I just want to do a little bit of a timeout on that. If your score was 3 or below, what happened to your mindset? Did you go into, oh God, I don't know. I don't know. Everyone else knows. Those people have got 4 fingers and I've only, I don't know. Oh my God, I don't know. And then everyone else does know. So just notice your mindset there. If you don't know, that's fine, because that's what this session is about. And I know from my own experience being in this room of really smart people, when I think I don't know something that other people don't know, other people do know, I've got 2 ways of responding. I can go into little me and feel insecure and hope that nobody knows that I didn't actually know the answer to that. Or I can say, okay, right, I don't know, this is my chance to learn. I'll ask someone, I'll have that conversation. So just notice your mindset when you're realising that you might not know something. Oops, sorry, got 2 there. So have you got the core collaterals in place? No, sorry, you understanding all of the core collaterals for your practice. So on a scale of 1 to 5, are you understanding all the core collaterals for your practice? Aha. Yeah, thank you very much. 2, yeah. If you're not sure what the question is, then you're a 1 or a 2, and that's okay, because that's what we're going to do next.
Oh, I'm 1 on all of them. Just leaving it
Oh,
out.
excellent, excellent. Love that level of disclosure. All right. And then the third one, are you across all of the project specific collaterals? So do you understand the project specific collaterals? So can I just get a show of fingers on that? Right, 1, 2s and 4s. Okay. Right, we've got quite a mix in the room. You should be a 5, Darren. So have you built all the easy collaterals? And let's not go into the, we know the answer to that. If you don't know what they are, you probably haven't built them. So shall we just talk about what they are? All right. Text pack. Who can tell us what a text pack is?
All the sentences about your practice that you put in emails and your single lines, your multiple lines, paragraphs, anything that you want to use.
Great. Great. Any piece of text that you've written once that you will probably need to use again for that cluster, or if it's your practice-wide, then in your core text pack. So the email that I write, I've got a little blurb in my text pack called 3 Key Ways. And the 3 key ways is the 3 key ways that Corrine develops fearless leadership for her clients are. And there's a dot point about the first sort of line of stuff I do, the second line of stuff, and the third line of stuff I do. And if you want to know more about it, she would welcome a conversation with you. Get in touch with Melinda Pitts, her relationship manager, on this number. Now, can you imagine that's something I write often? And you've probably got those too. So you need a text pack. So all of the ones here with an asterisk are also the project core collaterals. So you need a text pack for your cluster and a text pack for your practice. Now, to take this one step further, who uses some sort of automated text expanding device? Ooh, what a massive productivity gain we can do today overall. So you need to be using a text expanding thing like Text Expander. Oscar, what do you use? Autocorrect. He's a Microsoft person. Bravali? Grammarly? I almost said that, Grammarly. Grammarly. Okay, so just find one of those text expander. And so what I do is instead of having to go into the Word document, finding the 3 keyways, bringing it back, reformatting it nicely in the email, I just put : 3 keyways, and it goes blip, and it really does make that blip noise. I particularly like the noise. And it fills that in. So all your key passages, your key, even my program names, instead of typing out leaders who ask every time, I just do asterisk, leaders who ask, and it goes blip, and it's there. So anything you can do to make the boat go faster, so text pack and then automate it, automate elements of it that you use often. So you need the text pack for the overall practice and then the text pack for your cluster.
Outlook uses quick parts. If you don't know what quick parts are, Google them, and you just go insert quick part, you go quick parts.
And canned responses on Gmail as well.
Canned response? Oh, canned responses on Gmail, yeah. You can set a whole email template up in Gmail with a canned response.
Canned as in, it comes in a can? C-A-N-N-E-D. Canned response.
So lots of ways you can do it. Do not type it up every time. That is not good use of your time. If you're a black belt, how much is your time worth a minute? $10.
So the other one is on text expander, you can actually get it to sync with your phone, your
Yep,
whatever. So
across all your devices.
using it, you're putting something into on your iPad, it'll do exactly the same as once you've got it.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So if your time is worth $10, what would a black belt do? How long does it take you to type all of that up? And if you're going to save that every day, we have just saved thousands and thousands of dollars a day in this room when you all install something like that. Magic. The second easy collateral is your positioning script. So what's your positioning script? Otherwise known as your positioning matrix. Who can explain that one? Great. Who you are, what you do, and what you're selling. So it's the 3x3 matrix: low energy, medium energy, high energy. About you, about them, and about the program, and about them. So you want the practice one, and then you have one for each cluster. So another quick way, I just copy my practice one, and then I edit it to make my cluster one. We're not going to talk any more about that tomorrow, because if this is a gap for you, then you need to hang out tomorrow with Chris. Where's Chris? With Chris Freeman, who is doing a session tomorrow on Super Saturday on positioning matrices. So if you haven't got your positioning matrix, don't go home and do it tonight. Come and do it with Chris tomorrow. Reference journals, not yours. So in my case, my space is Fearless Leadership. There are reference journals that are really about leadership broadly. And then I've got reference articles about particular clusters. So these aren't things that I've written. They're things that give me positioning because other people are writing about these as being an issue. So if you're in the leadership management space, go to Harvard Business Review. Whatever the area of your expertise, find some well-credentialed people who've written good stuff that you agree with, or that you're prepared to agree with most of, and provide that to people. Where might you use that? Can you just have a conversation on your table? I want each table to come up with 4 ways they could use a reference journal. You've got 30 seconds to do it. All right, that was 30 seconds. This table, what's one way you could use a reference journal? What's one way you can use a reference journal?
Just grab one, highlight some key parts where you know they've got issues.
Great. Great. So, did everyone hear that? So, get a journal, an article, someone where you know they've got particular challenges, highlight the bits that are going to be relevant to them and email it to them. Okay, another one here.
Having your own take on the conversation is really important. I like it because this relates back, you know, very much your take on it. Because basically, they're not going to read the article generally, but they're going to think your positioning and your credibility, which comes with it, as long as it's in support of what you're actually thinking, is the key to it.
So it does a couple of things. It shows them that you're thinking about them, and it also is positioning that knowledge. I went for a run yesterday morning, as a slight aside, went for a run around the Botanical Gardens, and I was thinking Botanical Gardens. That reminded me of the Royal Botanical Gardens, the Cranbourne Botanical Gardens in Victoria, which reminded me of an executive team. The last time I worked there, I worked with them in the Cranbourne Botanical Gardens. So I took a photo, and I did a quick 2-second email to the whole executive team saying, hey, thinking about you guys, I'm in Sydney, you know, reminded me of this, reminded me of you, how's it going? And I went a particular reference back to that workshop, which was, I think, in November. And I know that there's been at least 2 responses. I haven't really been tracking email today, but one of those responses translated into my relationship manager texting me yesterday afternoon saying, that email you sent, they want to know about this. Is this an okay price for me to give them? And it could have just as easily been something I read on the plane that I did a quick scan and said, I was thinking about you because. So you want to be top of mind as well as being known for this, whatever the topic is. All right, one more use for journal articles. What do we come up with on this table? One more use for a journal article. Who can help them out? Richard.
Making a cold call a bit less cold, a bit warmer. Yep.
Beautiful, yeah. And with that same interpretation at the front end, yeah. Excellent. So find your journal articles. I've got a friend in the UK who is super good at this. She's always sending me things that I think that she thinks I would be interested in. So one of my goals for this year is to get better at this. Not just have a couple of standard ones, but every single time I read something that I find interesting, not letting myself go on to the next thing until I thought of at least one person to send it to. Books, not yours. So books for the cluster and books for your practice. Why does it say not yours? Because you haven't written one yet? Okay, why else?
Because it's saying this person of renown, it's saying this person of renown, presumably, because they've written a book, also supports what I'm saying. It's a bit like the journal.
Beautiful. Yeah, so it's positioning you. One more reason why we would send a book that's not ours. It's a gift. It's more generous. When I send my book, it looks like I'm marketing myself. When I send someone else's book, it's an act of generosity.
Can I maybe push back against that just a little bit and ask the question, if I was to just push back a little bit.
Yeah, stand up.
Stand up. Sorry, I had my feet up on the seat and I was comfortable. I'm hearing that and I agree with it and I like what I've heard, but I wonder if there's another perspective, and that is that when I send my book, if my positioning is strong, if the book is seen as an important book in the area, if people are responding well to my book, then that can be seen as both generous and helpful, and potentially not look at me, but rather because this is something that is so valuable, I'm sending it to you because I want to be helpful. Is that fair?
I'm absolutely comfortable with that, and I am much more likely to send my book than someone else's book in the first instance. But then I'll follow it up with other people's books when we have different conversations. And I think it's all in that positioning. It's all in the handwritten with compliment slip or the letter that goes with it. Paul?
A couple of things. This is a little trick that I learned from Lisa O'Neill, which is sending other people's books. It's really good if you can actually highlight the bit you want them to read and put a sticky note in that page, little handwritten note. Was thinking of you because we discussed this. Please see page 23. I've highlighted it to make it easy for you to read. What I find there is you can very easily use someone else's book to promote what you are actually trying to be about. So Jenny Brockis, she does a lot around neuroscience, mind science and the brain work. She did a whole chapter on multiple handling, which was really down my productivity line. So I just highlighted that and I sent it to all of the general managers that I know that were having problems with emails, which is everyone, and got back huge responses because it wasn't my book.
Yeah, nice.
You know, it really thought about me.
Yeah. Do be careful when you highlight things, because one of my books has a chapter about managing micromanagers, and I'm very careful about highlighting that when I send it to you as a gift. So just sometimes you want to just let them take from it what they need to and not be too prescriptive. And the last of the easy collaterals is your clicking strategy. So you want to, there's a clicking strategy for you overall, and then there's the clicking strategy for your cluster. Now, I had a conversation with somebody on the overseas, what do we call it? On the distance program earlier, and she didn't know what I meant by clicking strategy, or I needed to explain it more. So am I getting blank faces? Oh, I should have cut this slide in. This is my favourite, other than the pink sheet and the green sheet, this is my favourite slide. So your clicking strategy is just the order that you go through your green sheet in. So we sit down, we have a bit of a chit-chat, we build a bit of rapport, you tell me a bit about what's going on in your place, and then I go to problems 1, 2, and 3. So, you know, I heard in our conversation earlier that you were saying that building accountability in your leadership team is really challenging, and many of my clients find that. I also hear sometimes from others in your industry, problem 2. And problem 3, I'm not sure if problem 3 is an issue here, but problem 3 is the sort of thing that I was working with an organisation yesterday and it was a big deal for them. So you see you've done problems 1, 2, 3. So straight to the bottom of the green sheet. Then you're unspoken. So, and what often is at the bottom of that is they're really not sure if they've got what it takes to work through this. And that's really sad, because what I do is your value statements, right brain, left brain. Ah, so we're nodding, we're liking this. So can I just draw it for you? So you jump up to your value ladder and you draw it for them, and you draw it with engagement, so you're having a conversation along the way. How's that sounding? Where are you now? And by that stage, hopefully, they're saying, so how can we work together? And it might be then you do a very little bit of how. So you go back down to the bottom of the pink sheet, or the bottom of the green sheet, which is where your pink sheet is. You're overarching, and in my case, if I'm talking about fearless leadership, I say what we need to do, and this is all the how I do, what we need to do is think about the purpose, the motivation, and the communication, all in the context of trust within your leadership team. This is what the program looks like. I would love to work with you. I'd be honoured. What do you think? And then shut up. So your clicking strategy is just how you work through your green sheet, and a little bit of a connection to your positioning matrix, which is the introduction to the conversation. So when you see clicking strategy on the core collaterals, that's all it is. It is in the curriculum, yes. If you go in the curriculum to collaterals, no, projects. It's projects, isn't it, Pete? Projects. And there's a great video there where Matt talks through all of this. So if you want to hear it all again, you can hear it from Matt on the video. So just rate yourself there. Have you built all the easy collaterals? Have you built any of the easy collaterals? Where are you from a 1 to 5? Seeing a few sad faces. All right. Then we've got our medium collaterals. So when we talk about the easy, medium, and the hard, they don't have to be hard. It's more about how much effort is it going to take to do this. Whoops. Oh, I've got 2 at once. Our list of people. Now, I don't think this actually should be categorised as a medium. I think this should be an easy. And what do we call that? That's our contact 10. Now, who are the 10 people? We don't have them on the tables today. Sometimes we do at immersion. Who are the 10 people that you're going to ring on Monday morning? So your first 10 people. That shouldn't be that hard. This isn't your database of hundreds. This is who's your first 10 people. Your white paper. turning your green sheet into a white paper. Now, an explanatory video. We're starting to get more tech here. Now, for some people, doing a quick video is a fabulous thing to do, and it's not that hard. Digby, where's Digby? Broke his arm and left. Well, because he broke his arm, he can't write. He's broken his left arm, but he's left-handed, and he can't write. And so he's actually rethinking, how do I run my practice at the moment when I can't do a lot of what I would normally do? And so Digby's doing some really beautiful short videos every couple of days, and they're literally Digby standing on the beach outside his house or standing in the bush nearby, talking about how he's coping and what he's learning from having a broken arm, what he's learning about resilience, what he's learning about his focus. So he's doing video light, and I love it, because I feel like I've got to get my makeup on, and I've got to, Digby doesn't seem to worry so much about makeup as I do. I've got to put my makeup on, I've got to have my nice clothes on, and I've got to have it all done beautifully. So you don't have to do this, don't have to make it hard like I have. I've only put videos on my website about a year ago. So for some people, this is an easy do it early one, and for others, it takes a bit to work up to this.
Corrine, the asterisk means both cluster and practice, but some of these are quite cluster specific, aren't they? Or?
Yep, some of them can be. So if you think about a video, I've got a video on the front of my webpage that is, welcome to my webpage, and here's what Fearless Leadership is, and here's what I stand for. So that's a cluster video. I've also got a video on my speaker page, which is a speaker video. It's my show reel, so that's very cluster specific. So I've got practice on the front page, and then I've got cluster on the speaking page. And then I've got another cluster video that you don't get until after you join me, and that's in a secret link somewhere else. So yeah, a bit of both. Yeah. Damn it.
Another angle on that, one of the things that I do in certain situations is when a piece of work is booked with a client, especially a new client, I'll often suggest to them that I record a short video for them to show internally to position what I'm doing, especially with the leadership team.
Nice.
And they love that. It's a 2-3 minute video, and it's really easy for us to shoot it, host it on a dedicated page, send them a link, and they just love that as a value add. Yeah. And it's talking to them, it's mentioning their company name, and I'm really looking forward to coming in and rolling this out and blah, blah, blah.
So that would be from your point of view, it's virtually a standard thing, but you've just put the company name in and you've referenced a little bit about what you're doing for them. So you're not thinking a whole script each time, you're just thinking once and videoing often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I think my takeout from this conversation is I make video too hard, and I need to make it easier and do some of this stuff. And a leave behind. So a leave behind could be your brochure, and if some people leave behind a white paper, it might be something you email afterwards. So they're your medium collaterals. And then your difficult collaterals, or your more time-intensive, energy-intensive collaterals, a dedicated URL. So when you start out a program, you just try it out. We're launching clusters, we're failing 50%. When it's successful, you do some more work on it, you develop it more, you tell more people about it. And when it becomes very successful, you might then say, it's going to have its own website. So I've got one separate website, and it's a program or a partnership that I've done with a couple of other people. Most of my stuff is on the one page. There are other people who will have separate URLs, separate spaces for each cluster. So this may or may not be useful for you. Again, will it make your boat go faster? And you would only do this if it's going to make that particular cluster go faster. A tour site, the same sort of thing. Takes you on a journey through this particular cluster. We would only do that if it was a big whiz-bang program. Sorry? So The one that comes to mind for me is when Pete first did the Gun VA program, it had its own URL. And you went to that URL and there was Pete standing in the garden, I think from memory, talking about this program, talking about what it would do for you, and talking a bit about the flow through the program. So that's a tour site. Ta-da! You can send your book, Justin. So the last one is your book. So ultimately there's a practice book and then there are cluster books. Yeah, for the start, any book that you've written is brilliant. So quickly mark your, mark 1 to 5 on those. Stand up, go and find someone that you haven't spoken to today, give them a quick high five and tell them what's your response to that. What's in your head in response to the conversation so far? So quick, find someone else, high five, quick, what's your response to the conversation so far?
Games. Are we too grown to play around? Young enough to chase, but old enough to know better.
Are we too grown to change? Are we too grown to mess around? Ooh, and I can't wait forever, baby. Both of us should know better.
Ooh, 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 I've been wishing for you. Ooh, ooh. Trying to do what lovers do. Ooh.
Thank you. Oops. All right. Back to your places. Some of you are cleverly holding your project cards in your hand. And you'll see that down the side of the project cards are the list of project collaterals. So this is the standard list. So you've got your text pack, your green sheet, your positioning matrix, your reference journal, the book that's not yours, the white paper, the explanatory video, the brochure. Now you might say this cluster is never going to have a video, so let's just put a line through it. But you might say it is going to have something else, and so I'll put that on the list underneath. So before we go any further, what questions do you have?
Can you just talk through how you evaluate what level of collaterals to build out for each cluster?
Beautiful. Okay, so the question was, how do you evaluate what level of collaterals to do for the cluster? So do you want my answer now or my answer when I first started?
Both.
So my answer when I first started was you have to do all of these because that's a lot of procrastination before you need to talk to anybody. And then by then the 90 days are up and you can look at your next cluster. And you don't ever need to talk to anybody, which is a really good strategy for avoiding making sales calls, but it will not get you to black belt faster. I know that because I spent a lot of time at white belt. So I go back to the will it make the boat go faster? What's the minimum you can do? And Lynn Kazali, one of the best things, I reckon Lynn's done a lot for us, but I reckon one of the best things that she did for us, can I just fast forward, and is this, which she did 6 months or so ago, which was Lynn's MVP, the minimal viable product to get a cluster launched. So you've got the project card, you've got 3 pink sheets, that's all you need. Don't go and build the project, just 3 pink sheets. You've got your green sheet. Lynn went so far as to say you only need the middle row of your positioning matrix, which made me go, oh. Appropriate disrespect, exactly. You've got your 10 people, your 150 words. So what's a little basic something that you can write, that you can whack in an email and send out? A couple of questions to ask. What's the questions that I can ask to get the conversation going to lead to my fabulous cluster that I know can solve all your problems? And what can you give them to read? So I would go with, how do you evaluate it? What's the absolute minimum you can do? And I reckon it's even before that when you can start having conversations. If you've done your cluster card, your pink sheets, your green sheets, you've got your position in your matrix, and you've got 1 person on your 10 people to meet. Then you can start having conversations and you can build the rest out as you go. Because the more conversations you have, the more sense it makes to you and to them. So it's the least you can get away with. Other questions? We all good to keep going? Yep, I'll come back to you.
My 26-year-old son says I show my age at different times. When I was talking about writing, he said, "Dad, no one reads." Podcasts.
Yep.
Even more than videos, podcasts, because they can play them all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Oscar is over here. Oscar Trimboli is currently one of our poster children of podcasts. I have gone to sleep many times over the last couple of months with Oscar speaking beautifully to me as I've gone to sleep. Now, I haven't told him that until now. Is Jenny still here or did she go home? She's there. But it wasn't just me and Oscar because there was always a third party there. It was his guest. So Oscar's doing some great podcasting. Yeah, so there's lots of other things we can do. And maybe it's time for us to rewrite that, and maybe a podcast or 2 needs to be up on that list, perhaps in the medium level. And there was one more question.
Just to clarify with the journal, just wanted to clarify with the journal, is it, you said, is it journal and articles? So it could be an article?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an article that might come from a journal. It might be someone else's in here. It might be their white paper. So when Paul talked about Jenny Brockes' book, Jenny Brockes is part of the family. And so Paul's actually using something that someone else who's not in this room right now and has been in this room, their work. So it could be a journal article, it could be someone else's white paper with permission. It could be a link to one of Oscar's podcasts. I've sent links to Oscar's podcasts to clients.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
yeah, for those who have sleep apnea. That's right. All right, so let's do something with this then. You now have 3 minutes to identify the list of core collaterals. Remember, core is right across the practice, that you think you need at the moment. Not that you're going to need forever, just the ones that you need right now. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do that. And there are faculty members in the room, so if you've got any questions, wave your hand and someone will come and talk to you.
Always 1 foot on the ground, and by protecting my heart truly, I got lost in the sounds I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music would say that of course it's gonna get better, gonna get better, 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 better. I never loved nobody fully. Always 1 foot on the ground. And by protecting my heart truly, I got lost in the sounds I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my mind. All of this music, and it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart. I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind. All of these words I hear in my.
All right. Have we upped the graphics? Did we have flashing colours like that yesterday? We did. All right. So you now have a list of the collaterals, the core collaterals. So what are the project-specific collaterals? Now, there's already, as we pointed out, there's the list on the project card. There are also, under the projects on curriculum, there are examples for each of the modes, both public and corporate, professional. Thank you, I was stuck on corporate, I knew that wasn't it. Public and professional. So, for example, if you have a speaking cluster, there will be examples of collaterals within that example that you won't use for anywhere else. So you might have different agreements, you might have a speaker brochure. There are things that are specific to each of those clusters. So when you are developing a cluster, it's really worthwhile taking time to go in and look at some of those projects that are there. So I've done a coaching one. So I have put a lot of the collateral that I have and the templates and the systems that I have for a professional coaching program are in there as an example. Not so you can all have coaching programs just like me, because that wouldn't be much fun at all. It's actually just to give you an idea of here's how someone else has put it together and how can you use that to inspire and help so that you're not reinventing the wheel for you. And remembering that we've got our MVP here. So what do you need to do to sell your cluster? So you've got 3 minutes. What are the collaterals that you still need to do to sell this cluster? And if you've got any questions, raise your hand and someone will come and help you.
I don't know anyone here. Seagulls or sharks, I don't care. I take a dive and I'm gone. Dancing in the car park, headlights on. Trying to take off, but the gravity's too strong. Walking these streets all over the place. Trying to crack up with a little bit of grace. I'm spinning up dreams. I gave my money to a late night store, and I left my shirt outside your door. And I walked all night and I talked to you, and I never looked up and I never got through. But I'm with the wind and the stars, I feel you next to me. I'm at my 16th dive bar, but these strangers look familiar. Maybe I've been here before. My head says don't be crazy, but I'm looking for something risky. I'm breaking waves like the shore, and we're dancing in the car park, headlights on. Trying to take off, but the gravity's too strong. I gave my money to a late night store, and I left never looked up, and I never got through. When I move with the wind and the stars, I feel you next to me. The soft machinery of your heart, I feel you next to me. Oh, if I could, oh, if I could, oh, if I could. When I move with the wind and the stars, I feel you.
All right. So we've all got our core collaterals. We know what it is that we need to do. We may not have done them all yet, but we know what we need to do. And then we've gone to this cluster, and we know what we need to do for that. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, okay. All right, so now it's the flipped classroom. We're going to do some work. What? I know it's Friday night. Surely this is the time when we just have drinks and talk about how nice it would be to have beautiful collaterals. Yeah, no. This is the time when we write them. I quite often do activities when I'm training, and I'll give groups of people an activity, and I'll tell them, like, for example, that they need to work out the purpose of their team. And I'll give them a bit of a framework, and I'll tell them that they've got 25 minutes to work out the purpose of their team. And some of them will swear at me, and some of them just look at me like, are you for real? And I know in that 25 minutes they'll come up with something brilliant. And I also know if I gave them 2 or 3 hours, which is what most of them think they need, they won't be any more brilliant, but they'll have taken more time. And I happen to think that you're just as smart as my other clients. And that if I give you 20 minutes, you can come up with something that's pretty damn good. I am much better at criticising than creating. So I am much better at criticising your work than writing stuff. But I am also much better at criticising my own work than writing in it. So if I could write something now, I would. And then tomorrow morning I'd get up fresh and I'd look at it and I'd refine it. And that would be far more effective than me having 2 hours to do it now. Yeah? So take something on those lists that you've identified that you need to write, and you've got 20 minutes now. Actually, I think because Darren really is indicating that he's getting tired and it's getting towards the end of the day, we might make it 17 minutes. 17 minutes to write something fabulous. And if that's too big a bar, just write anything. Just write, and you can fix it tomorrow. Ready, set, go. Hands up if you need any help.
maskings of a holy night, and I was lucid and conscious, hovering like a firefly, my mind stretched out on the canopy. It put its arms out slow, and I heard the whispers of silence floating down from the radio. So come on, I'm ready now. I got the feeling, honey, like I'm ready to roll. You see, I'm not gonna wait till the end, 'cause I got the burning fire in the bed of my soul. Saw the light from a pedal gun, 16 days under a southern sun. And there were times when I thought that I wouldn't mind it if I lost my mind out there. You wouldn't believe me if I told you so. The things I saw were enough to make the man in me a man in me. Make the man in me. So come on, I'm ready now. Go get your things out, honey, let's get ready to roll. Oh, I can feel the wave coming over me. I
you. Thank you, Matt. I'm glad you're here. So, that wasn't actually, for those of you who are looking a bit unsure, that actually wasn't 17 minutes either. That was 10 minutes. But if you imagine if you could get that in 10 minutes, who sits at their desk and thinks, I've got 20 minutes till the next client, that's not enough to do anything real, I'll go and put some washing on, or I'll get myself a coffee, or I'll check what's going on Thought Leaders Central. Yeah. Never? Excellent. So apart from this table, that's the difference, one of the differences when we start to think about what will a black belt do. If you've got 20 minutes till the next client, use the 20 minutes. Write something here and then review it later. And if your client is 10 minutes late, you've got a whole half an hour. So use all the time you've got. So your last task, which you're now going to get 3 minutes for because you're so used to time speeding up beautifully, is of the things you said you needed and the things you've done, what's the schedule for getting that done? Now, I am mind reading a few of you, and a few of you have actually said to me, oh, I've just realised I've got all these things to do and I'm going into overwhelm. That's okay, they don't all have to be done now. Just make a list of them and just focus on one at a time. If they're core collaterals that are going across your practice, just make a list and just knock them off progressively over the next few months. Don't try and do everything at once. What's going to make the boat go faster today? Just focus on that. So you've got 3 minutes now to just round this off by scheduling when you're going to get these next things done. We've just been reminded that Lynn Kazali did a fantastic How to Write a White Paper in 5 days? I think Lynn's not here. Where's Cole? Cole, you're so good at finding things on Central. Can you at some point find that and do a post link to it? Lynn did a once a day for 5 days, write a white paper, and then she PDF'd it at the end, and it is brilliant. I used it to write a white paper, and it was so much easier than writing it my way, which was just to go a bit everywhere and then try and refine it, whereas Lynn actually had a system which was lovely, and Lynn's really good at doing hacks that help you do things faster. So if you want to write a white paper, make sure you get Lynn's How to Write a White Paper and just follow it. Because one of the things we're good at is making it harder by thinking, I know a better way. But don't try and know a better way, just do what Lynn said, because it works.
On the subject of doing things a better way, searching on Central's really easy. Just type how to write a white paper in the search box, and then wait a couple of seconds, and then when it comes up, there's a filter on the left-hand side, and under author, if you type LYN, and then wait a second, you'll see Lynn Kazali's name, you click that. I haven't checked this, but I guarantee you that one of the top 3 things, if you search white paper filtered by Lynn Kazali, will be that. Okay, I did my bit.
You're telling me that I have to actually be doing things myself now and not asking you to do them? Oh, but it's so much easier when I can just ask you.
Yes, I will do that, yes.
So we now have collaterals. Why do we do collaterals? Because they help make the boat go faster. They leave us feeling professional and confident and prepared. We never do collaterals to avoid making calls or doing anything else, do we? So I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, I will never make collaterals at the expense of making calls. So just turn to the person next to you and say that now. All right. So you weren't supposed to laugh at that. It was not funny. It was supposed to be said with absolute depth and truth and conviction. So happy collaterals. Over to Pete.
And a huge thank you to Corrine for a fabulous session. Yeah, this is the kind of the work to do. It doesn't feel that sexy, but all of this stuff, exactly as Corrine says, this is the bits that help us move quickly. It's what a black belt would do, is have all of these lined up by the end of the weekend. So by Monday, you are hitting the ground running. Or at least, yeah, at the very least, having this last bit done, having them scheduled so we know when they're going to be done by. So we are about to hear from Col what is happening on Super Saturday. We have changed it up once again. We are going to have a classroom, a workshop, and a library in different places than the last time we were here. And Col, let us know what is going on where and what's happening in which room. Thank you.
Can do. Before we go through this, I thought I might encourage everybody to grab your learning passport out. Because what we're going to do now is kind of design your plan for tomorrow. And I think it would be really good to just make sure we haven't been swept up in the excitement of everything and then realise at the end of all this that we lost our intentions. So if you've got your learning passport handy, or you can recall it, I reckon it would be good to use that as a bit of a guide to help you decide how you're going to spend tomorrow. As Pete said, we've got 3 key environments. We're going to have the classroom, where you will do the learning. We're going to have the workshop, where you're going to do the doing, and then we're in a guided manner. And then we'll have the library, which is, I think it's called the Maple Room. So it's the room over the back corner that way. And of course, the library is a place for quiet work, and there'll always be a mentor or 2 in there to provide any assistance required. So to go through the list, firstly, on this side, starting at 9 a.m, we have Linda Hutchings going through Unique Intelligence. So this is around the idea that what you sell is not just what you know, but in a sense who you are and who you're being. So if you want to explore that somewhat, which feels kind of appropriate given the journey we've been taken through today. Then hang out with Linda in the classroom at 9 a.m. Cam, are they the wrong way around? I'm pretty sure that's the workshop. So, under the heading that says workshop, we're going to talk about the classroom. Oscar is going first, listening for your next sale. So Oscar, as we know, is the Australian authority on listening, and his belief is that there's a load of opportunity, commercial opportunity, sitting on the table when you're in conversation with your clientele, and that you've just got to learn to listen for it. So he's going to talk you through that process. It's not about a green sheet conversation necessarily, but it's about listening to what's coming out of the mouth of the people that you work with, and hearing your next sale, and a couple of key questions that you can use to tie into that. Georgia Murch wrote her first book in 8 days. So if you too would like to write a book in 8 days, I'd say it would pay to learn her process. She'll be in the classroom from 10 a.m. From 11, we will have Lisa O'Neill. Was her models today like seriously game-changing or life-changing? That the hexagon one was absolutely blew my mind. I will be dreaming about that one all night. Lisa, when she joined us, didn't know what a model was. So it seems appropriate that she should be the one to teach us. So she is going to go models for dummies, and the idea is that you come in with a green sheet and you draw your client's problems. You draw your market's problems. So come in with a green sheet. Your homework for Lisa's session is come in with a green sheet with at least some problems on it, and she's going to help you turn those problems into a model. And finally, after lunch in the classroom, we're going to have Dermot Crowley. And Derm, if on Lisa's model today you gave yourself a low score for time, I think Derm is going to be your man. So what he's seeking to do is help you leverage the time you've got to apply it into being a thought leader. So that's essentially making as much of your time count towards think, sell, and deliver, and less of all the other stuff. So Derm's going to teach us a bunch of tactics and strategies to do that. Then, in the workshop, was that a question? Yep, what's the question really quick?
I'm just wondering if the classrooms are being filmed. They are. So on the
No. Classroom's filmed, workshop is not. So in the workshop is very much about doing. And the first one is Linda Hutchings. And as I said, that's about exploring who you are and how you might leverage that commercially. Sometimes it's the ugly bits of us that are actually the most interesting. And so Linda's going to help you explore that. Next, you've got me doing the middle of the pink sheet. So if you waffle a little bit, or you feel like you sound a bit boring, and you want to really sexy up the middle of the pink sheet, we're going to go deep on turning your pink sheets into snappy, memorable, memeing gold. So your homework for that is to come along with a bunch of pink sheets, which the middle of them doesn't excite you too much yet. After me, we'll have Ral Dolan, and Ral is going to explore the bottom of the pink sheet. So as we know, she's a storytelling genius, but she is a thought-leading genius as well. So she's going to work you through the entire bottom of the pink sheet. So if you have some stuff where you're a bit heavy on context and a bit light on content, then come along to Ral. And finally, in the afternoon, in the workshop, we have Chris Freeman teaching the positioning matrix. So if you stumble across your words when someone says, "What do you do?" that's the place to be. And the homework is a positioning matrix, a draft, and Chris is going to help you pimp it and turn it into what it truly could be. Of course, remember, the library is always available, and if you know that work is what you should be doing, then I strongly encourage you to get in there. And conversation as well might be what you need. And so the pre-function area just out here is always going to be available for conversation. The Genius Bar will be staffed pretty much all day. And as I say, I reckon set some intention around what you're going to get done tomorrow. Refer to your learning passport to make sure that you're ticking that stuff off, and refer to the list of things that you brought up with Corrine just now, so that when you get out there on Monday, you're ready to rock and roll. I'm looking forward to it. Does anyone feel like today really flew? Yeah, me too. I reckon that means you're in flow, maybe. I reckon, yeah, it was good. 2 other things. If you're just finishing up day 2, then Linda Hutchings is going to have another little meet and greet. Thank you, Linda. She's going to be here, and it's going to happen right now as soon as Matt's closed us off. And if you're feeling like the wheels have fallen off a bit and you maybe dropped your bundle, I've often talked about Matt and Pete being the steam train at the front and I'm the caboose. So I am here at the back, leaning out the side, and I'm going to catch you as we come roaring through, okay? So if you're feeling like you dropped your bundle and you just maybe need a little something, it could be as little as a hug or as lot as like a great piece of strategic advice, whatever it is that you need, I'm going to be hanging out here. So if you need some help, we'll start with a hug and we'll go from there. Great. Everybody, Matt Church.
Cole Fink, I think. The clap is thank you for your enthusiasm. He's our chief enthusiasm offerer, I think. I think Cole is always in his best and his heart comes from championing this tribe and everything that we can be and do. He's also pretty good with the data. All right. So, how you doing? Yeah. In the structure that we're in, we don't do this again, like this whole we're all together bit. Which is interesting. In some of the comments, some people said, I'd really like to finish Saturday with us all together. It would be nice if on Saturday we did like a kumbaya goodbye. Yeah, we've got knockdown walls that we'd put up and things like that. So there's logistically a challenge. And I'm wondering if you really do. Because if you were continually turning up to an event to feel good, it becomes somewhat codependent. And that's maybe not the most empowering thing for you. And that what they know is they know that true change, you get all excited and we get stimulated, but then the energy curve kind of goes into this calm, where the idea of I needed inspiration, I needed advice, is to actually, I'm good, I've got this. I'm good, I've got this. I know all my questions have been answered. I've had a chance to look at my learning passport again before we finish tomorrow, and you've gone, did I find the things I needed? And I would like you to come through to tomorrow with this firmly in mind, possibly even upgraded. Maybe this is what you thought before you walked in on Thursday, but maybe you now know things you didn't know back then, and maybe new stuff is written down. As faculty, and I know for Pete and I, we actually love that tomorrow means we get to have the conversations that may have felt rushed over the last 2 days, that may have felt crammed over the last 2 days. Everybody who presents in classroom and workroom is going to do such a brilliant job of finishing in 30 minutes. Like, they're going to be amazing at it. It's going to be extraordinary. And how you support them to finish on time is going to be just fabulous. So that next half hour, you can go talk to someone, go tick, 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 go get the coffee, go for a walk. So instead of being exhausted, you can actually get yourself ready, because this is 3 days of 90. And you've got the 87 ahead of you, and a big part of us is we're ready for that. So I would like you to review this before tomorrow. So whether it's tonight, whether it's breakfast or something, and recommit to you getting what you need out of our experience tomorrow. I love what this has become. I think it's going to be extraordinary. I think the workshop's going to give us a better environment than the park did for those that have been here for a while. I think it's going to be fantastic. But the difference is, over here they're working on curriculum and helping you leave with things. It's the best analogy I got is Adam said, this is kind of like the woodworking or the metalworking room at school. You know what I mean? You come and you make your skateboard there. Yeah? That's what you're doing there. Versus here. And in fact, if you mix it up a little bit, I think what you might get is a wonderful experience, and then have some profound conversations in the corridor conference, and everything could be super cool. Have you enjoyed the group bit for the last 2 days? Have you, those that have been here before, have you noticed some of the innovations? And okay, cool. They're working? Great, great. Have you had a chance to talk to other people about that over the last day or two? Does anybody want to share what maybe has really stood out for them as keep doing this? Yeah. Anyone else as well? All right, good. Here we go. I'll start with Darren and then we'll come across.
One of the things that's really stood out for me is having Lisa on stage, not just because Lisa is awesome and Lisa is Lisa, but there are so many amazing people in here that I would love to see them at full flight and to learn from them. That's been great.
Good, more of that. We agreed it. Yeah. In your absence, Pete, we agreed that the showcase thing was a really good idea. So everyone sort of said, it's on, it's happening. Yeah. Chris.
Hi, Matt. So I'm a new boy. My head's completely full, very excited, but there were two key things. One is something you said right up front, which was think like an elite athlete. Think about your own journey and your own plans. Don't measure yourself against others. And that really struck me because I think it's a long game and you've got to dig in and make this work. And the second thing is, and I've forgotten your name, I'm so sorry, but I remember what you said at your black belt speech. You said, fly your crazy flag high and proud. Freaky flag, thank you. And I've got that embedded in my brain too. Thank you.
Great. There was one more comment, I think. Lots of people put their hands up. Did you put your hand up? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kelly. This is my third immersion, and it's the first time I've been able to articulate the help I need, and it's therefore the first time I've been able to get the help that I needed. So I think the innovations that you've introduced today, I can't applaud you enough on. It's been a really fabulous experience.
Good. All right then, well, let's keep doing that. It makes sense. So well done, everybody. We're not done. Drinks, of course, you know, Sydney's my town, and we're drinking up, and so we're doing drinks. And there's drinks out here for anybody who wants them. Energy shifts a little bit. There's a dinner that happens. Black belts go to a dinner tonight. So if that all of a sudden there's this exodus, you go, what's going on? It's this thing that they do, which is great. And then we're all in here nice and early at 9. I'm going to be in at 8:30. We're going to have chats and all day long for anybody who wants to talk to Pete, any of the deans, faculty, ads. We're going to do it, and we want you to leave clear about what you're going to do next. So that's our goal as we head through the next day. Okay, everybody, drinks.